Hello everyone and welcome to our Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation module wise training series. So in this third episode of inventory management module, I'll explain you what is the transfer order and the prerequisite for the transfer order. I'll also explain you in which scenario we are going to create a transfer order and when we create a transfer journal. So after this I will explain you the use of the transit warehouse in the transfer order. Then we move further for the financial dimension concept in the site and we will create a transfer order to explain this, and at the end of the video we will share you some setup which is specifically available for the Indian localization. So make sure you watch the complete episode. So let's start with the episode. In the inventory management, we go for the inventory management. In the inventory management in 365 finance and operation or any ERP system, we have two types of inventory transaction. One is inbound orders and the second is a outbound order. Inbound order area is deal with the transaction which is coming into your organization, and the outbound order is opposite of the inbound order. The transaction which is going out from your organization will consider in that outbound order. So it's a issued transaction in the inventory module. But you can see here the transfer order is a part of the inbound order and the outbound order both, because the transfer order is the transfer from your own book. So for one warehouse it's act like a issued warehouse, and for the other warehouse it's like an receiver warehouse in the same facility. So it's an inbound order for one warehouse and it's an outbound order for the another warehouse, and it's happening in your own facility. So due to which you can find this transfer order option in the both inbound orders and outbound orders. So before creating transfer order, let's discuss the scenario in which you are going to create a transfer order for your organization. So actually I have created one PPT for this, so I'll explain with that PPT. So in this image, west side of the geographic area is a site 1 and the northeast area of this geographical area is site 2. So under west side we have one warehouse, and for the site 2 we have another warehouse. Let's say warehouse 1 needs some urgent goods and warehouse 1 doesn't want to procure this item from your vendor due to high lead time. Maybe the vendor that providing the item is from your different country. So in that case, procuring the item from the vendor will take a high lead time and the customer cannot really wait for this order. It's an urgent order for the customer, and this customer is a flagship customer. It's like a regular customer for this warehouse. So in order to fulfill that order, warehouse 1 decide to take the item from the warehouse 2 and transfer them into the warehouse 1. So in this scenario, warehouse 2 have excess inventory for that item. So warehouse 2 is ready to transfer the good from warehouse 2 to our warehouse 1. So this will achieve through the transfer order process. But for the transfer stock from the one warehouse to the another warehouse, we can also achieve through the transfer order journal process. So we have two methods. One is a transfer order and another is a transfer journal. So the now question is, when we use the transfer order and when we actually use the transfer journal. So the transfer order is created in the three circumstances. First is like when you are shipping warehouse, which is warehouse 2, and the receiver warehouse is our warehouse 1, far away from each other. The distance between the both warehouse is significant in this case. So we need to go for the transfer order, because when the distance is too high, even you need track the transit of that item while it's in middle process of the transit. In the transfer order we have something called as a transit warehouse. When the item is in transfer process, then we consider that item in the transit warehouse. Now we discuss the second scenario where you create a transfer order because your warehouse worker need to pick the stock from your source warehouse and they want to do picking list printed and want to know the list of item, and they also requirement for shipping document that need to issued from the source warehouse. They also have the requirement is a destination warehouse is properly following the receiving process in place, and they also need to register that goods, so whatever they receive in their doorstep. If you have that requirement to follow this all the process, then you need to go for the transfer order process. And the last and third scenario is where you need to use the advanced warehouse management like mobile device automatic picking from your location. So if you are using the advanced warehouse management, then you need to create a transfer order. So now we discuss about when we create a transfer journal. We use transfer journal when your source warehouse and destination warehouse is not so far from each other, and you also don't want to follow the process like list picking list, print that list, shipping process, receiving goods in the destination warehouse like register good and so on. So in that scenario, you can create a transfer journal. Transfer journal will also use when you want to transfer a good from within the warehouse, like one location to the another location in the same warehouse. In that case, we'll use the transfer journal. I have also saw in some organization, transfer journal will use not only for transfer stock from one warehouse to another warehouse or one location to another location in the same warehouse. It will be also used for moving from one tracking dimension to the another tracking dimension. This will use to move the product dimension, like you procure the product for one size large which is accidentally procured. Now you want to change the size from large to small. In this scenario, our organization will create a transfer journal to change that product dimension. The transfer journal is also in use when you want to move from one tracking dimension to another tracking dimension, like you procure the item for one serial. Now you want to move this item to the another serial number. In this scenario, organizations also create a transfer journal. So let's again we move to our transfer order. So here in the image you can see the transit. So as we discussed before, when your stock is transferred from one warehouse to the another warehouse, this stock will be considered in the transit warehouse. We have already created a transit warehouse in our episode 1, so you can watch that episode to know more about the transit warehouse, how you can create a transit warehouse and where you can assign this transit warehouse. So I will add that video in this I button so you can check out that video. So when you set up this transit warehouse and move your stock from this warehouse 2 to the warehouse 1, then your inventory will be automatically moved to your warehouse 2 to the transit warehouse till it's received to the warehouse 1. So this transit warehouse process will be automatically taken care by the Microsoft Dynamics 365. So you can manually transfer the stock in the transit warehouse or move out the stock from the transit warehouse. When your receiver warehouse, which is warehouse 1, receive that item or receive that stock, then stock will be automatically moved out from the transit warehouse. So one more important thing I need to mention here about the transit warehouse. I have one item, move over other slide of the PPT. Now I have one item which is moving from warehouse 2 to the warehouse 1. Now we also have the warehouse 3 which is also send the same item to the warehouse 1. So in this scenario I am using the same transit warehouse for the warehouse 2 and the warehouse 3. So even though we are transferring the same item from a different warehouse with the same transit warehouse, in this scenario we are creating the different transfer order. You did not need to worry about the order getting mixed up, because any entry which is happening in the transit warehouse is reserved against the respective transfer order. So this is a basic of the transfer order and the transit warehouse in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. So let's do some prerequisite setup before creating the transfer order in the system. So first prerequisite for the transfer order is, here we have the transfer order. We are transferring the stock from our own facility, like own warehouses. Our stock is not moving out just like a sales order or not coming into our inventory like purchase order. So there is a no loss and no profit for the transfer order. So the effect of the inventory posting is the account which I set in the episode 2. It's get debited in the posting of the account. Also, in order to have the better visibility of the financial transaction, we normally tend to have the financial dimension. So in financial dimension, you normally prefix your operational unit or the business unit. So let's take our previous image with the same example. Here we have the account where our stock is decreased from this particular account, but in this case you can see that our account number for the warehouse 2 and the warehouse 1 is the same because both is our own warehouses. So now we have applied the financial dimension 02 and 01 prefix for the each account. So in this condition, our stock is transferred from the 140100-02 to the business unit of 10140-110-01 business unit or operational unit. So this 01 and the 02 is this prefix we consider as a financial dimension. So the financial dimension we can't directly define in the transfer order level. Financial dimension need to be default from the site into the transfer order document. So we have already created site in our first episode. So now we just assigning the financial dimension to that previously created site. So we again go to module, inventory management, inside inventory breakdown site. So this north site we created in our previous episode. So in our site we can't find the financial dimension because we have not yet enabled the financial dimension. So let's first enable the financial dimension for the site. So we again go to inventory management. Inside posting we have dimension links. So click on the dimension link. Here we click on the edit button. Here we set our cost center. as a financial dimension. Here you can specify the dimension which you want to assign for your site. I just select the cost center. So let's save this. Here we have the option which we can directly go to our site, or you can directly navigate through inventory management module, sites, site north, edit. So now you can see that our financial dimension is enabled. So inside financial dimension, let's select the cost center. So here we select our cost center as a central. Now we save this site. Again go to our dimension link, and here now click on the activate link. Click on OK. So our financial dimension is activated now. Let's again go to site. We will also see the impact of the financial dimension when we go through the voucher transaction later, when we post the transfer order in our 4th episode of the inventory management module. Now our first setup is done. Let's we move to the second setup, which is required to create a transfer order or post the transfer order. So the second important setup is a posting profile setup. For transfer order, we need to set up a inter-unit payable and inter-unit receivable account, which we have not assigned in our episode 2. We have keep this topic pending for this transfer order video. So let's again go to our posting setup. Here we have the inside inventory, we have inter-unit payable and inter-unit receivable, and I'll explain you the inter-unit payable and inter-unit receivable concept. So we perform the transfer from warehouse 2 to the warehouse 1 in our example. So inventory of the warehouse 2 is decreases and inventory of the warehouse 1 will be increased. So warehouse 1 is a payable account and the warehouse 2 is a receivable account from the warehouse 1. So we necessary to tag that account payable and account receivable account will be tagged in the inter-unit payable and inter-unit receivable accordingly. So let's first assign the inter-unit payable. Inside inter-unit payable, we click on the new, select the item code as a all, because we need to set the accounts payable for the all the item. So in the main account we have already created the our inter-unit payable account. So I'll assign this, click on the save. Next we go for the inter-unit receivable. Inside here we again click on the new, same set as a all, and in the main account we set as a inter-unit receivable account. So this save this setup. If you don't assign this account, then you will get an error when you are post the shipment. So our prerequisite is completed now for the transfer order. So let's navigate to the transfer order and create the transfer order. So let's click on that inventory management. Inside inbound order, click on the transfer order. So here, in order to create a transfer order, click on the new button. Here we first option is the transfer order number, which is automatically generated through the number sequence. But the number sequence which are provided by the Microsoft is not as much useful. So let's create our new number sequence and assign to this transfer order, which is actually meaningful number sequence. So let's again go to the inventory management module. Unset setup, we have inventory and warehouse management parameter. Okay, first we need to delete this order. Okay, now we move to the inventory and warehouse management parameter. Inside number sequence, here we have the option of the transfer number. So let's click on this view. We click on the view details, click on the new, let's name it as a TO num. Okay, and set the name as a transfer order number sequence. The scope of the number sequence is a company. I will explain you the other part of the scope of the transfer order and other processes in our next video, which is episode 5. So we just select our entity company as a USMF. Okay. Now I want the number sequence. We don't need companies, so we just remove this. In the cost constant, we set TO dash and the prefix as a 6 digit. In the number allocation also we need to change this as a 6 number 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, and make this number sequence as a continuous. So let's save this. Now our number sequence is created. Go back again for the number sequence assignment. Here We just remove the previous one and set TO number sequence. So we have assigned our number sequence. Now let's again go to the transfer order. Now we click on this new button, and here you can see that our new number sequence TO-001 is automatically assigned. So the next is a from warehouse and the to warehouse. From warehouse is a source warehouse from which your end is shipped, and the to warehouse is a receiver warehouse or destination warehouse which receive that stock. So from warehouse, we have already created two warehouse in the system, so we'll use that same one which we have created. In the to warehouse, I have assigned the destination warehouse as a west warehouse one. Just save this button. So as soon as you save the from warehouse, let's check in the header. We can see that our transit warehouse TW is automatically assigned, because in the from warehouse NW1 we have assigned this transit warehouse. Let's again go to our from warehouse and I'll show you. Here you can see that in the NW north warehouse we have assigned the transit warehouse TW. So when you create a transfer order with this NW1 warehouse, the transit warehouse will be automatically assigned. So in the Dynamics 365, we don't need to manually assign this stock in the transit warehouse. So the next one is a transfer status. We have three transfer status for the transfer order. One is created. This one is a default transfer status. When you create a transfer order, this transfer order is in a created state. The second is a shipped. When your stock is shipped from the source warehouse and it's in transit phase, then the status of the transfer order is a shipped. And as soon as your stock is received by the destination warehouse, then the status will be changed as a received. So before going forward for the other option of the transfer order, I need to explain some important concept, because most of our viewers are the beginner. So when you transfer the stock from our one warehouse to the another warehouse, it's a physical stock transfer. I'll show you some PPT example. So when you transfer stock from one warehouse to the another warehouse, it's not only the physical stock transfer but also the financial stock get deferred. So when our inventory transfer from the warehouse 2 to our warehouse 1, then it's also trigger the cost calculation irrespective of any cost method. Whether you are using a weighted average, FIFO, LIFO, it's always trigger the recalculation of the costing. When your stock is transferred, then the cost recalculation is generally happening to the receiver's warehouse. Calculation is dependent on the storage dimension level. Let's go to our storage dimension. So inside modules, product information management, storage dimension group. So this SW storage dimension we have created in our product and information management series. So you can check out this video for the more information. I will just give you the short recap for our transfer order process. So inside our site and warehouse, so for example the stock which I transfer from the warehouse to the warehouse 1, which has been created in the system by using the storage dimension of the site and warehouse. So here you can see that our financial inventory is enabled in the site level, not for the warehouse level. So let's go our PPT again. So here we have a one site which is site 1, and inside site 1 we have two warehouses, warehouse 1 and the warehouse 2. Now warehouse 1 is procuring the mobile for the $500 and the same mobile warehouse 2 procure for the $450. So the price differences happen maybe because of the warehouse 2 is much closer to the vendor side, so the cost price is lesser for warehouse 2 as compared to the warehouse 1. So the average calculation is happening in the site level because the financial inventory we have only tick for the site level. So the average cost for this site is a $470. So in this example we are transferring stock from the warehouse 2 to the warehouse 1. There is a no recalculation is applying, even the cost price is different for the both warehouse, because we are calculating the cost in the site level which is $470. Let's take an example where the financial dimension is tick for the warehouse and the site both, and you transfer the stock from the warehouse 2 to the warehouse 1. Then there is a recalculation is happening in the warehouse 1 and the cost price is calculated as a $470 for this warehouse 1. So make sure you are aware about this recalculation process before creating the transfer order for any warehouse. So let's again we move to our transfer order. And also one more thing, when you shipment is posted, you can't cancel the shipment, because before processing for the shipment, Microsoft D365 Finance and Operation will give you lot of validation, but once you ship that shipment, you will didn't get any option to cancel that shipment. So make sure you check all the details before proceed with the shipment. So after this transfer status, we have one more option like transfer type, which is only available for the Indian localization. Currently we are using USMF, which is United States legal entity, so this option is not available for us. So let's change the legal entity and discuss about the transfer type. So Indian legal entity, I will navigate to the INMF. So in this Indian legal entity, we just click on the new button. Here you can find this option. In the transfer type, we have two options. One is a transfer order and the second one is a stock transfer. The transfer order will be used in the normal condition. For the stock transfer, when you use the stock transfer button in the transfer order, you select the transfer type as a stock transfer, you will get an option to add a additional cost like transport charges or any other additional tax for this transfer order. So I'll explain you this stock transfer button for transfer type in our future episode. So that's it for this video. In our next episode, we will again deep dive into the transfer order process, how we can do the post this transfer order and other important topic like shipment, receiving, and also we will discuss about the option which are there in the transfer order line. So stay tuned with us, subscribe to our channel for latest update, and thank you for watching.